Are you familiar with Ariana Grande and Mac Miller's breakup?
Yes.
Do you think Ariana Grande and Mac Miller are a good or bad example of a relationship in pop culture?
Bad example.
And why would you say that?
I don't think that a woman trying to fix a man should be in the limelight.
Do you think they were a good or a bad example of a relationship in pop culture?
Wouldn't say good nor bad.
Do you think... Okay, so recently Mac Miller passed away, and it was because of a drug overdose. Do you think Ariana Grande is responsible for his overdose?
No, Mac Miller is his own person.
Do you think Ariana is responsible for Mac Miller's overdose?
No, because he's his own person. That's not her responsibility.
Okay, and with that, do you think Ariana Grande maybe should have stayed with Mac instead of breaking up with him, because his overdose happened a few weeks or so after they broke up? So do you think she should have stayed and tried to help? Because it was very known in social media and stuff that he had a drug addiction and stuff. So do you think she should have stayed with him to help with that?
No, he was addicted to drugs before they met. She's not his therapist. That's not her job.
Okay.
Should she have stayed with Mac to help him with his addiction?
No, because he needs his own help. It's not her responsibility.
And also with that, Mac Miller he had like multiple drugs in his system, but each one on its own wasn't enough to cause his death, but together it was enough to give him an overdose. Do you think that he knew what he was doing by taking all of those drugs at one time?
I definitely do. I think the whole point of them mixing is to see how far they can go.
Do you think Mac Miller knew that he was overdosing?
Probably not.
Okay, and Ariana Grande also tweeted after breaking up with Mac Miller something along the lines of not being his mother, and that there's only so much you can do for a person.
What do you think about Ariana's tweets?
I think she was right to clear her name.
Do you think Mac was a good boyfriend to Ariana?
Yeah, but he just needed help.
Do you think that Mac was a good boyfriend to Ariana?
I think he supported her career and supported her how he could, but I don't think he may have been emotionally available because of his drug addiction.
Okay, and with that, after Ariana Grande and Mac Miller broke up, she got in a relationship with Pete Davidson, and it was not too long. I don't even know if it was like a month before they got together. So do you think that her being in a relationship so quickly after being with him for such a long time had taken a toll on his mental health?
I think it was a trigger for him to start taking more drugs, but really I don't think too much blame can be put on her.
Okay, and with Ariana Grande being in a relationship with Mac Miller so long, do you think that her getting a relationship with Pete Davidson was kind of her way of coping with the breakup and getting engaged so quickly as well? A rebound? Yeah.
He could have been a rebound. I personally don't blame her for picking him.
And what do you think should have been different about Ariana and Pete's relationship?
He shouldn't have jumped into things so soon.
Breakup Adjustment in Young Adulthood is an academic article that relates back to how sane people react to a breakup. There's usually an adjustment period, and this adjustment period can affect coping skills for future relationships. There are usually two parties involved that can be categorized as the initiator and the non-initiator. The non-initiator usually has a harder time coping with the breakup because they didn't make the choice to break up, and so it may have been an undesired outcome for them. And getting into a new relationship and knowing the reasons why y'all broke up has been proven to help the coping period be easier for you. And relating this back to Ariana and Mac, Ariana got into a relationship with Pete Davidson pretty quickly after her and Mac broke up, and she was also the initiator of the breakup, so it was probably definitely easier on her than Mac Miller.
Non-marital romantic relationships and mental health in early adulthood is a gender differences article that says women show more signs of depression and substance abuses, and that more educated people show less signs of depression and substance abuse. And that goes back to not always being true because it negatively impacts men and women with substance abuses. And that relates back to Mac Miller overdosing, and he was always more public about his alcohol drug abuse.
In the article, breaking up is hard to do. It mainly focuses on how a person can have changes in their social behavior or substance abuse. This reflects on the reactions of young adults during their breakups and post-breakups. While becoming an adult, not having a healthy relationship can lead to some complications such as drugs or alcohol. But if the relationship actually goes through and meets the next stage, which is marriage, then either the male or female in the relationship doesn't have time for drugs or anything else. They begin to focus more on their partner and their relationship. While they tested many hypotheses for this study, they came to the conclusion that people who end up cutting off their relationship, that they start hanging out with people who maybe they neglected while in the relationship. They also point out that many men may commit crimes after a breakup. So this relates back to Mac Miller and how